So this is my 2006 Jetta TDI. Transmission is making a heck of a noise. It's because of the dual mass flywheel. The clutch is working fine overall, but I can't take the clang when I'm in neutral. So the pressure plate and the friction disc and the release bearing seem to be working fine, but the dual mass is clanging horribly. Just before I bought the car, the clutch was changed, so I was told. Apparently, whoever did it didn't deem it necessary to do the flywheel. I'm sure it was bad when he did it. So right here, basically in this time lapse, I'm disconnecting everything from the top of the engine and from the bottom. It's a pretty straightforward job. The transmission is on the driver's side of the car, and basically the airbox and the shifting linkage and a few hoses. The bolts connecting the transmission to the car need to be removed. Underneath, you have to do the starter. You should disconnect the battery, remove that as well. Remove the starter, the lower control arm, and part of the frame on this car has to be released on the driver's side and lowered so the transmission clears the frame. I started this at about 10 o'clock in the morning and was done by 5. I did have some interruptions, so it was probably about 5 hours for me to complete it. In a shop with a hoist, this would have been a lot faster. This engine bar is a godsend. It does the work of 2 men and makes removing and reassembling any components underneath any vehicle bonnet much simpler. It does the same thing basically as a jack underneath the engine block, but it's kind of up and out of your way. I got this one at Princess Auto in Canada for I don't know, $129 or something, and I've been using it for years. It'll last a long time because I only use it maybe once a year. So the camera angles don't show everything as nicely as I would like it, but once the engine mount is off on the driver's side, transmission mount is bolted to the transmission, and the engine mount, the torque mount is off underneath the vehicle in the center. As you can see here, the transmission pulls back and slides out very quickly. So, just because this job has been going so well already with very tight bolts in the axles, rounded heads, just all kinds of issues. Now you will see that the bolts don't line up in the hole, and regardless of how I pry, I got a pin bar there, try to pry so that I can get at these triple squares through the holes, it's out of a line. So now I have to get a grinder and cut this center out so I can get those bolts out, so I can remove this flywheel, which is destroyed, and put the new solid flywheel back on, because there's no dual mass going back in this. That I can assure you. I wouldn't put a dual mass back in this if my life depended on it. Well, I guess maybe if my life depended on it, but that's about it. So I hate these friggin' things. So yeah. So grinding out the middle hole here now, against my desires, to remove the flywheel to put the solid one back in. So this should be the last thing I have to do to remove before I can start reassembling. Fingers crossed. So once I started cutting here, this didn't take very long to be able to remove the bolts from the dual mass flywheel. Probably took me about 5 minutes. I did break one disc, so I had to change it. It's a little bit tight in there. It's probably easier with a corded grinder than a cordless one. The cordless one is handy, but it's bulkier and it's not quite as torquey. So as soon as I got the other flywheel off, the dual mass, I put the new one on, which is a single flywheel. It's not as smooth as the dual mass, but it works just fine. Everything just goes back together in reverse order, and overall I think the job went very smoothly considering I was doing it outside. Anybody can do this job with basic tools, but you must have triple square sockets, or don't even attempt this.